Hello, it's Shari here today, and I am going to be showing you how I made this rainbow card using only die cuts and a matching bookmark as well. So I have a card base that I've made here that's 4 inches wide by 7 inches tall, and it's side folding because of its size, obviously. And I have picked out a rainbow of cardstock here. So I'm just going to cut this cardstock in 1/4 inch strips to make my rainbow, and I'm cutting them longer than I'm going to need because I'm going to want to be able to trim it off to the correct size. So I'm using guava, fake tan, sunflower, cilantro, mermaid, and sugarplum cardstock. And when I made my bookmark, I actually replaced the mermaid with peacock, so you'll see that a little bit later just for a different look. Now I've got some of the gold sparkle cardstock that's part of the holiday cardstock pack. And I'm cutting it a little wider than I'm going to need because I didn't want to cut it too close. And this way I can trim it off and have the gold the same width on each side and not worry about spacing. So I'm going to use my glue tube to adhere my cardstock pieces down. And this works great on this glitter cardstock because it's not an even surface, and so a tape runner would not work quite as well. This glue tube works perfect and it holds it right on there. And I'm not going to put it right on the edge of the glitter cardstock. I'm going to hold it back from the edge a little bit so that you see that little strip of gold. Then I'm going to take my next color, I'm going to add some glue to the back of that, and I'm going to line it up beside that guava, but I'm not going to put it right against it again. I want to see that little gold strip in between, and I'm going to use my grid mat to help me keep things straight. Now I got this idea from my friend Jen. She made this really cute mermaid card, and she had done these rainbow stripes. She used some of the really rainbow pattern paper and cut the stripes apart and then put this gold in between it, and that was the look that I really liked, was that gold in between. I just think it looked so cool. So I decided to recreate the same sort of look, but I'm using cardstock instead. She had a much wider strip, and I wanted mine to be nice and thin and go through the center of my card. So I've got that yellow and that green. I'm going to go in with the mermaid cardstock here, and you can see I'm just eyeballing it, but I'm trying to keep the spacing between them pretty even. And then lastly, I will put on that Sugarplum cardstock. And you see I let it hang over the edges on both of these. Then I'm just going to make sure it's nice and stuck down. I'm using my bone folder. And then I'm going to trim off that uneven edge. Like I said before, this is much longer than I actually need. But this way it lets me trim it off to the exact length that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off that other end too. You can see that purple cardstock is a little short, but I'm just going to trim it off to where I have a nice rainbow stripe the whole way. I was checking to make sure that it was long enough, and it's more than long enough. So I just went ahead and cut it off and made myself a whole stripe. I actually had a little piece left over the end that I think would be cute on a small card, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, so I just kept it. So now that I've got that nice and trimmed off at the ends, I can go in and trim off the extra gold. And I'm not going to go right against the purple. You see I'm going to leave some gold on the outside, just like on the other side where the pink is. So now I've got some robin egg 12 by 12 paper from the Spiffy Speckles collection. And I'm just going to cut a piece of it to be 4 inches by 7 inches, and I'm going to cover the front of my card with this. I thought that this nice soft blue color worked well for the rainbow. It would really pop on this blue, and it looks like a sky. So I'm just going to put adhesive all over the back of that sheet of Spiffy Speckles. And because of the size of it, that's why I had to use the 12 by 12 sheet. But the speckles are also bigger, which I think works really well for this card. And then I'm just going to carefully line it up with the top edge of my card and the side fold and make sure it's nice and stuck down. So now I can start to assemble my card, and you can see there it is longer than I need. But I've got a stitch cloud here from the outside in stackables. This is the smaller of the two. And that's going to go on the top. So you can see that my rainbow is going to hang off the end. So when I get this all glued down, I'll just trim off that excess at the bottom. So that's just me checking to make sure that I like my placement. So now I have cut out the little smile and eyes that comes in the frame stitch cloud set. I'm actually just going to use the smile and those little pink cheeks you saw me put in there. And I'm going to use some Google eyes for the eyes. So I'm not going to use those two little dots that you see in there. And I'm using my tweezers because this is a very small piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to use my quickie glue pen because this is very small and I only need a tiny bit of adhesive. And I don't want to make a mess on this nice white cloud. So now that I've got that little smile stuck on there, I've picked out a couple small Google eyes and I'm using my jewel picker to pick those up. And I'm actually going to stick those down with some very small glue dots. So I'm just going to stick that to the glue dot and pick it up. I didn't really want to come off with the jewel picker because it was pretty stuck. So I'm going to use my tweezers. And I'll just place those, and now they're nice and stuck down. And I don't have to worry about any excess glue squishing out the sides when you use a glue dot like that. I'm going to do 2 tiny dots of glue, and then I'm going to add these little tiny rosy cheeks. So now I can glue down my rainbow. I kind of know where I want it to be. So I'm just going to add a whole bunch of liquid glue to the back of this rainbow. It's actually pretty nice and stiff with the stiff cardstock and then the glitter cardstock on the back, which is also what gave me the idea to make the bookmark that you'll see here at the end of the video. So I'm using my grid mat just to make sure it's nice and centered. And since I use the liquid glue, I can kind of shift it around if I need to. And you see that it's going to tuck perfectly behind my cloud. So I've got some foam adhesive on the back of the cloud, and that's just going to pop it up and give it some dimension on top of that rainbow. And then now I can go in with my scissors and just trim off the excess. It actually left me with this little cute piece of rainbow that would be a nice accent on a card, I think. So I'm just going to put that aside and keep it for another project probably. And you can see I have die cut the Scripty smile from all the same colors that I used in the rainbow. And I'm going to stack these with glue in between them to make a nice thick sentiment. But from the side, you'll be able to kind of see the colors a little bit. So instead of it being all black, I'm going to make a rainbow on the side. So I'm stacking each one in the same order that they are on my card. And I will end with the black on the top, and that way I'll have a nice bold sentiment to sit on top of this rainbow. So I will also do the dot of the eye, and you can see here I'm just using my little jewel picker to pick up those little dots, putting a dot of glue, and then just stacking the next color on top. And it is much easier to do this actually on the card than to try and stack them all and then glue the dot on. And now I have some iridescent clear sequins, and I'm just kind of scattering those around, figure out the placement. I've got 2 sizes here to play with. And once I've got them where I want them, I'm just going to go in with my glue tube and some tweezers and pick them up and adhere them down to the card base. So isn't that such a cute card? No stamping on this one, all die cuts. I just think it's so fun. So I thought that this would make a great bookmark too. So I've made another rainbow strip just like I did before. In this one I did replace the mermaid cardstock with the peacock cardstock, and I really like the look of that as well. And then I've cut out some stitched clouds here, and I actually cut one out of felt, and I was putting it on a cardstock piece to make it nice and stiff. The felt side is going to be the top on the front side of the rainbow. And I actually flipped the orientation, so the stitching is on the back side. You can't really see the stitching in the felt so much, so it doesn't really matter, but this way I can layer the other cloud on the back side and kind of finish it off, but it'll look nice and finished because the stitching will be right side out on the back cloud. And I didn't film it, but I actually did finish it off. I die cut a tiny little heart out of that same gold cardstock and just added it to that white cloud. Just felt that that cloud needed just something a little bit extra to it, and of course that gold glitter worked perfectly. I did back this bookmark with another strip of just white cardstock just for some extra stability since it is a bookmark. And here is the finished product, the finished card, and I think that bookmark is so cute. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.